Okay, Chair, you're now live.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Councillor Paige Hacking, Chair of this committee. I would like to inform everyone present that the meeting will be broadcast live to the internet via the Council's website and will be capable of repeated viewing. The images and sound recorded may be used for training purposes within the Council. In order to ensure that the meeting is managed effectively, please can everyone keep to the following guidelines for speaking. Councillors should only use the raise hand function to request to speak and only speak when invited to do so by the chair. Please switch off your camera and microphone when not speaking, and remember to set your mobile phone to silent for the duration of the meeting. Any views expressed by any speaker in this meeting are the speaker's own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the council. Please can councillors be aware that the webcast will continue to be streamed live 20 seconds after the closure of the meeting. This due to the time delay in transmitting live. I can now confirm the names of the members of this committee: Councillor Hacking, Councillor Quinn, Councillor Gardner, Councillor Gourlay, Councillor Lomax and Councillor Taylor. We're not in attendance at the moment. Are we going to state that? Yeah.
I'll record the absence of those councillors not present, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got any disclosures of interest before we move on? No. Okay. So item number 3, to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Can I have any comments, or are we happy to propose and second?
I've not got any comments. I think they're accurate. I will propose them, Chair.
Okay. Just giving everyone a chance to raise their hand if they do have any comments before I second it. No? Right, okay, I'll second those and we'll move on to item number 4, which is a review of the councillor learning, and I think Lyndon is going to take this one.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yep, this is the annual update to the committee, and it provides an overview of the training programme for the previous 12 months. The programme is developed by our Councillor Support and Development Group, and that's led by our Deputy Leader, Councillor Greenhalgh, and the group is also composed of the 3 group leaders of the council too. The training opportunities offered over the last months are provided in Appendix A to the report, and each training session, I should say, that we undertake, we do always try to gain councillor feedback on the quality of those sessions, and we've introduced a new online form in order to capture as many comments as possible. The majority of training sessions that we do provide are provided in-house, and that enables us to ensure that we provide courses that are value for money, and they're also tailored to our specific circumstances as well. There are some courses where we do seek some external expertise, and in the report it does refer to things like overview and scrutiny training, carbon literacy, safeguarding, and 2 sessions led by Derbyshire Police with regards to personal safety for councillors as well. We do now also offer some training via Teams, and that helps to make courses as accessible as possible for councillors, and also gives us the opportunity to record sessions too. So councillors can, if not able to make the live session, they can look and take a view of the recording at a time that's convenient for them. Moving on through the report, you'll note that at sessions prior to meetings of our full council. We've also started to introduce some Ask the Heads of Service meetings, and they're done on a rotational basis. They've proved quite popular. And we've also delivered training, not just to borough councillors, but also to parish councillors, and planning is referred to in the report there as an example. We've also started to introduce online training using our e-essential system for councillors. Again, that's hopefully linked to improving accessibility of courses to our members. And the first module that we've made live on there is in relation to personal safety for our members. In addition to that, on our intranet, on the council portal, we do provide access to a range of workbooks provided by the Local Government Association as well. That's as much as I'd like to say at this point, Chair, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. I think Philip was first, and then Rachel.
Yes, obviously I act as the independent person, and what I'm finding is that in considering complaints, quite often the issue of training and resources for councillors is an important area to consider. As an independent person, I've not actually received any input on what the councillor training strategy is and what resources are available to them, other than what research I carry out myself on the internet. So I think it would be useful for the independent person and substitute independent persons to actually get a full briefing on the training resources that are available to councillors, as often they can be a useful recommendation to make when considering complaints. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Lynn, would you like to come back on that, or shall I move to Rachel?
Well, just to say, Chair, I think that's a very valid point, and we can certainly arrange for that to take place.
Okay. Rachel?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I thought that the training has been very good. That was a really relevant point that Philip made, by the way. I think I hadn't thought of that, and that is really good. Can I also say how useful it is that we've got the recordings so that people can watch them around their work? I think that's really valuable, and it should be commended that we do that.
I have one question about the direction of training. Are you going to be looking at any like purely online supplementary courses that you would recommend that we do in terms of like how to manage being a counsellor, or on top of the LGA's ones? Is there anything available that's purely online that we can not have to book into, but can sort of dip in and out when we feel we need it?
That's certainly something that we can look into, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that makes the courses, as I say, more accessible to councillors, we can certainly take a look at that, and we'll come back with some further detail for you.
Okay, thank you. So, do I need to know? Do we need to note this? Yeah. Can we note the review? Sorry. Can I book Poser in a second, please?
I'll prepare.
Okay. I'll take Stuart and Rachel.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll second.
And can we move on to item number 5, which Mark's going to lead on, I think.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a review of the Council's local ethical framework. That's the framework which we use locally to pull together all the policies, procedures, rules and guidelines that we have to ensure good standards of conduct, good standard of decision making and governance within the council. So it includes in one place the code of conduct, which is obviously very important for this committee's terms of reference, but also the constitution and some of the other policies and procedures that other committees may look at in detail, including the audit and regulatory committee, the local code of corporate governance and all of these sort of areas. So the actual policy has been updated to reflect consequential amendments to changes in names of policies and procedures and of the department itself, actually. So that's been updated. There's also a proposed addition to the ethical framework, which is a code of practice for members on gifts and hospitality. There's already a requirement within the council's code of conduct to declare gifts and hospitality which councillors are offered or received over a value of £25, and the attached policy at Appendix B provides some further detail around why it's important to disclose any gifts or hospitality which are offered and the process which members should go through should they be offered hospitality. The only slight amendment, Chair, to the appendix before you is at 9.1. Could I suggest it refers to the requirement in accordance with the council's code to register any gifts or hospitality of a value above £25. Could I just suggest that we add the words offered or received? So any gift of hospitality or any gift or hospitality offered or received valued at £25 or more to any councillor should be registered, and myself and the Democratic Services team hold the register in which any such gift or hospitality should be notified by members, and that is open to public scrutiny as well, Chair. So other than those comments, I'm happy to take any questions which members may have.
Okay, Councillor Gawley.
Yeah, so it isn't a regular event, councillors being offered gifts or hospitality. I think the exception might be in terms of the civic mayor and the deputy mayor, who obviously is part of the duties to receive invitations where they'll be having food and drink and all the rest of it. Is that taken into account in terms of it's not the councillor themselves who's receiving this hospitality? It is the role, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's the distinction, Councillor Gawley. I think that's a good point. There may be circumstances, of course, where the mayor is offered a personal gift, and then I think that would fall within the policy. Otherwise, as you rightly say, there are civic events which may well have a value of more than £25, but at which the mayor or the deputy mayor are representing the borough in their role rather than on a personal capacity.
Okay. I have a question myself, actually. If we are offered to attend, and obviously, like, groups might invite us to events that they're having, is it, if we want to go, is it better to decline the ticket and then pay for the event anyway, or would that still be a bit grey because we've been invited?
Well, no, I think if you pay for your own ticket, then it clearly takes you outside of the policy, Chair.
Yeah.
And then I think in terms of whether you should accept or not, then there is an exemption where the guideline is that if it is important for you in terms of your councillor role in your local community to attend an event, then it may be appropriate for you to that for you to accept that hospitality. However, if you do so and the value's above £25, then you should register that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're ready to move on. If we can note that review and move on to item 6. So I'll propose it if someone wants a second.
I'll second Councillor Gourlay.
Thank you. And then if we move on to item number 5, which is Mark again on the item number 6, strengthening standards. Mark's going to lead on this as well.
I think I've got this one, Chair.
Yeah.
Oh,
think Paul's got that.
Yeah, not to worry.
Sorry.
I'll go through this. Yeah, that's okay. Good evening, members. The purpose of this report is to update the committee on the recent consultation exercise conducted by central government with regard to standards in local authorities. Members may remember in 2019, the Committee on Standards in Public Life released a report highlighting concerns about the effectiveness of the current regime, particularly in relation to sanctions. It was thought that the sanctions after an elected member was found to have breached the code of conduct were too weak. So they've begun a consultation exercise in December last year with the aim of improving ethical standards as it relates to particularly relating to the code of conduct nationally. So from that consultation exercise, the full consultation document has been appended in Appendix A. But what we've done is just summarised the main provisions at paragraph 6.3 of the report that's before you this evening. So if I just briefly refer to what the proposed changes are. First of all, the government is proposing to introduce a mandatory minimum code of conduct nationally. Members might be reminded that at the moment local authorities are just obliged to have a code of conduct that's consistent with the Nolan principles, and some councils simply just adopt the Nolan principles. We've always had a fuller code across the alliance, but this is going to propose to put that on a statutory footing, a national minimum code of conduct. There'll be a proposal that principal authorities should convene formal standards committees to make decisions on code of conduct breaches. Again, across the alliance, we've always had a standards committee. Of course, this is it, and periodically we review the complaints that we've had and report those back to members. But there's no statutory requirement to have a standards committee. Some councils don't have them, so the government's looking to put that on a statutory footing. The one that's had perhaps the most focus is the proposal to introduce a power of suspending a member where they're found to have breached the code of conduct. It's likely that that suspension power will come in up to a period of 6 months. There's further provisions to suspend a councillor on an interim basis if there's a really serious breach of the code. Then it's likely that a power to make an interim suspension whilst the matter is dealt with will be introduced. And then there's a new category of disqualification for gross misconduct. If an elected member commits gross misconduct under the new provisions, they're proposed to be disqualified. And if they're suspended, if the power of suspension comes in and they're suspended more than twice in a 5-year period, that again would lead to disqualification. So generally, the government's looking to strengthen those provisions, in particularly in relation to the powers to suspend and disqualify. There's a little bit in the consultation document which looks at it from the point of view of complainants, and they're looking to make it more robust in respect of making sure that people don't feel prohibited from complaining against councillors because of fear about the impact that complaint may have upon them. They want to remove the barriers that may be perceived to exist so that people feel confident about coming forward in appropriate cases. So that, Chair, is just a very brief summary of the direction of travel. And the committee simply has to note those the contents of the report. And of course, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Rachel?
Yeah, hi Paul. I probably should have asked this before. Is this going to apply to all levels of council? So how would that apply in terms of parish and town councils?
I expect it would apply to all levels. Yeah, similar to the previous regime which existed before 2012 when we had the Standards Board for England and the adjudication panel for England to hear appeals. I expect it will take effect for all levels of councils. And of course, in the new world of local government reorganisation, that's a relevant consideration there too. I expect it will apply to however we convene local authority in the new system.
So that could mean a new unitary would be quite large. And so if it's dealing with parish councils, there's a huge gap in between them. It's not quite so local, not quite so, I suppose, personal, understanding. It's going to be a much bigger thing when there is an issue with a parish or a town council. Okay, so that's something to think about for us. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gourlay?
Hi, just to talk a little bit more about parish councils and town councils. The biggest difference, at least in High Peak, is the lack of party structures within the town parish councils, and so there is really no way that you can enforce standards training on this tier of government. Mark, do you think that these latest proposals will have much of an effect on the standards of behaviour, or are we just going to be dealing with punishing people after the fact?
Well, I suppose the question would be whether you think that having greater sanctions to the standards regime is going to, of itself, improve conduct. I suppose that's the issue. And do greater sanctions give the opportunity for dealing with poor behaviour where it happens? Well, they do, I suppose. Whether that changes behaviour, whether behaviour was better in the town and parishes pre-2012 when the Localism Act came into effect or not, I wouldn't like to say, really. I'm not sure there's been a significant change in terms of training under the 2000 Act. And again, the current consultation is going back to some of these requirements under the 2000 Act, where principal authorities were required to have a standards committee, and in two-tier areas, the borough and district council had responsibility for parish areas. There was a requirement to have a standards committee, and the responsibility was on that principal authority standards committee to arrange training for towns and parishes in its area. Now, we've always included towns and parishes in the training that we do on the code of conduct and on governance arrangements, but there's no compulsion to members to attend. Whether with the threat of greater sanction they'd be more likely to attend or take greater interest, I don't know. Maybe that would be the case.
Yeah.
There is a fundamental issue with having the same code and the same requirements on all tiers of local government, but of course in future there'll be two tiers, won't there? At the moment there's three, there'll be two. You'll have unitaries and then you'll have parish councils as well, and I don't know whether that might be reflected in the legislation when it comes forward, but we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I can see where the what the intention is behind them, and I think it will improve behaviours a little bit, because it might make councillors just stop and think, and before they say something, just in case they have it wrong. And then maybe we could chase it up with an officer or to check before we say something to constituents. But I think that might demand a lot on officers' time, maybe. So it's something that needs to be thought about, that maybe councillors will need more drop-in sessions with officers or stuff to make sure that they are fully briefed on everything. Yeah.
Well, we're always happy to advise. We'd rather advise in advance of something happening than after the event. So that's right, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. So can I have a proposer and a seconder to note that item, please?
I'll propose Paige Stewart.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Paige.
Okay. We'll have Rachel second, I think. But thank you. And I think that because there's no part 2 in this meeting, there was no confidential matters, so I think that's the end of this meeting, and we can all go and enjoy our evening. Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
So,
Bye.
thank you, everybody.
Good evening.
Thanks, Chair.
Bye. Bye.